All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Before I get going, this album here, The Wilder Blue. If you like the Eagles, like old Eagles prior to the Hotel California period where they decided they were going to be a contemporary rock band, which wasn't a bad thing, but this is old school, great harmonies, music from the hills of West Texas, ladies and gentlemen. Incredibly real, authentic, high production value, will fill your ears with beauty and wonder. The Wilder Blue. Instead of the Wild Blue Yonder, it's the Wilder Blue. All right, they're really good. Check them out. I've been checking out, because people keep sending me stuff. I've been checking out what people are saying about Foreigner, about Lou Gramm, about Kelly Hansen. There's all this stuff around because apparently Lou Gramm has been talking to some people, which is cool. I've never had the chance to talk to Lou directly, although I think I messaged back and forth with him a while ago, and his at the time his wife, and they seem like great people. I love Lou Gramm. I love the fact that he got to reunite with Foreigner a number of years ago, that Jones Beach concert, and then the subsequent shows they did following that were terrific to get everybody back together again. Not just Lou, but the older guys who used to be in Foreigner up on stage with the current lineup, and everybody seemed to get along really great. A lot of positive feedback. Lou Gramm was talking in a positive way. Lou Gramm even showed up at a Billy Joel concert with Mick Jones, if people remember, in New York City a couple of years back prior to the thing-demic. And they did a nice job. They seem to be okay with each other. And, here's the deal. People are saying, it's outrageous. It's not Foreigner. Then the other thing is they're talking about that song that is overplayed, which really is one of the greatest songs ever, ever. And of course, I'm talking about I Want to Know What Love Is. Whether you are a big fan of the song or not, when that song came out, I remember hearing that on the radio, and that was one of those, okay, what the heck is this? It's kind of like hearing Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. You were just like, what? Nothing Compares to You, Sinead O'Connor. There were these moments in music where songs would stop you in your tracks. And the vocal that Lou Gramm did on that song is breathtaking. It could be one of the great all-time lead vocals on a song. I mean, you're going to put that up against who? What other thing are you going to put it? You could maybe do Survivor or Journey or a number of other songs with really, really strong vocalists. Lou Gramm, really at his peak. I remember Robert Plant at the time said to Mick Jones, if you've got another one of those songs, let me know, because I'd like to get it. I'd like to have it. The song is phenomenal. No matter how much I overhear it on the radio, which I do, because every time you go out in the car, radio has lost its mind because there's no imagination. So you're going to hear the same songs you always hear. But that intro, that kind of moody intro with the keyboard parts, and it's very sparse. And then Lou just sings over it with such power and passion. We're hearing, though, the old story about how this is the song that ruined Foreigner, much like Roboto ruined Styx. Almost in the same vein, Open Arms caused some problems for Neil Schon and Journey. But then, see, Neil Schon was probably the most mature person in this sense, because he gauged the audience response. He wasn't so wedded to his way of thinking that he couldn't see what people were hearing and go, okay, I didn't get it. Now I get it, right? And of course, famously, Steve Perry probably shot him the Portuguese evil eye. And Neil, I guess at that point, just said, you're right. You're right. This is a good song. We're going to keep playing this song. And then the song hit number 2 and stayed there for a number of weeks. So, yeah, I Want to Know What Love Is, international #1 song. Amazing songwriting. I don't know where you come up with those sorts of lyrics. You're having this spiritual battle, this struggle, and the fact that they have this choir behind it. I mean, it's just a stroke of genius all the way around. And so when I watch or hear about, we'll say it that way, when I hear about people saying, it could be the reason that Foreigner broke up. And I know Lou Gramm wasn't really happy about the direction the band was going in, because he joined a rock band in the 70s and it became a pop/rock band in the 80s. But on that same album with I Want to Know What Love Is also a song called Reaction to Action. So if you're a Foreigner fan and you want to rock out, there's your rock out song. And there are other songs on there too. But the point is, radio, because of this, I don't know, this format that we have now, which excludes anything that was an album rock oriented song back in those days in favor of the Billboard charts. Everything is just the Billboard charts. You're not going to hear Reaction to Action. You're going to forget about that. I used to play it on the station I worked at, and the audience loved it. Mick Jones, this great guitar part, this, and then was it this mic check thing that Lou Gramm does, like check 1 2 2 check, something like that. And it's just an awesome song. You have to go listen to it if you've never heard it. But the point I'm trying to make here is that rockers and ballads, the Styx situation with Dennis DeYoung, rockers and ballads. People aren't upset that Styx had ballads. In fact, it was an interesting set list, and set lists do better in general if they're doing this, not if they're doing this, because boredom can set in. If they beat you into the ground with 3, fast tempo songs, and they have this power ballad that they're waiting to play, and then they slow it down, it's better for the entire concert experience rather than just, hey, turn up the testosterone. Styx says we don't do those wimpy songs anymore, right? We don't play Show Me the Way. We don't play Babe. That would be an insult to our audience to do that, even though those are your biggest and best songs. They just are. People don't want to admit that. In the case of Foreigner, though, there seems to be a big struggle out there about, okay, you've got this song. We've been hearing about it for a long time. Then you've got this issue now with Kelly Hansen, right? Kelly Hansen, who's been with this band, for almost 20 years, seriously, since like 2003, I think, Kelly Hansen, right? Used to be in a band called Hurricane. In fact, I wish that Foreigner would do I'm On to You. I wish they would dust that off and bring it out there, even though it's not a Foreigner song. I'd love to hear Kelly Hansen sing it. This is from like the late 80s or whatever, early 90s. And I remember the record label Enigma Records just blowing up my phone constantly about, you've got to play this. This is a great hook. And it was a big monster, glammy metal hook. And every so often I will go listen to the song and I'll go, yeah, Kelly Hansen, right? Kelly Hansen on lead vocals. And so looking back at what Mick Jones decided to do, and again, Lou Gramm had the surgery. He got out of the surgery. Let's be honest, and I've been a big defender of Lou Gramm for many, many years, and still I am. I didn't like the way he was treated overall, and I didn't like the things other people were saying who weren't really knowledgeable, who were just saying, what happened to Lou Gramm? Look at him. What happened to him? Or his voice, what, brain surgery? Hello, brain surgery. Okay. They took was it a golf ball, or it was something really big size out of Lou's head. Okay. And it was a successful surgery, but there were lots of complications afterwards. And, okay. So, you explain that to people, and some people are okay with it. Some people just don't care. They don't care about the backstory. They just assume that Lou was just going to be the same old Lou after that. And between the aging and between the brain surgery and just life, circumstances, stuff that you just can't really just wish away. You can't say, man, this should just get back to the way it was. So people are always second guessing everything. I second guessed for a long time. I get a little bit of a boost when I hear a band has got a new singer. I want to hear it. I want to hear what they sound like. And I remember they didn't release any new material. They recorded a live album, right? And you could go to Walmart and get it for like $5 or something. Like it was Foreigner extended versions live. They used to market it in a way where you thought you were getting these super long versions of the songs that you knew and you loved, and maybe those versions were the same but with more instrumentation. But what it was a live album, right? And the songs tend to be longer in a live setting. And I remember buying that. I remember putting that in the CD player and listening to it and going, wow, this is actually really good. I'm sure you could still find that album out there. I know Foreigner has probably done like a half dozen live albums since then, but that one to me, I think they had Jason Bonham playing drums originally too, which is another way to kind of market the band and sort of reorient the band and say, hey, we've got this monster drummer along with our new singer, and here's Foreigner, right? Here's the new Foreigner. And I'm sure they had to build an audience. Was Foreigner as nameless and faceless as some other bands from that era? No, because of Lou Gramm and to some degree Mick Jones. They weren't completely nameless and faceless, but I would argue that they were more nameless and more faceless than Journey and some other high profile bands of that era, where people just knew everybody by name. They knew who was in the band. They knew who played bass, Ross Valerie. They knew those names. But with Foreigner, people were like, yeah, they had some guys in the late 70s, and then some of those guys left around the time of Foreigner 4. I'm not really sure who's in the band. I remember Ian McDonald, and that's kind of it. The late, great Ian McDonald, by the way. So again, you regroup and you go out there on the road. You're not recording new material, but you got your old material and you can play it live, and the recording is decent. And people are like, okay, I'll spend in 2004, I'll spend 40 or $50 on a ticket and go see this thing, right? And Kelly Hansen, even though at times he's a bit too Steven Tyler for me, his persona and the way he dresses, and I wish somebody would talk to him about his wardrobe at times, especially what he wears, like from the waist down. It's just, stop it. You're not, this isn't 1987, Kelly. But, maybe some of these older ladies, they're into that. I don't know. He should take a cue from his boss, like the white shirt and black pants and kind of the dressy looking shirt. And, people are complaining too, and I've been talking about this for a couple of years. This is almost a pure cover band or a tribute band with the Foreigner name. And it's going to become the Guess Who or Blood, Sweat and Tears, or you pick a band, Quiet Riot. I know technically these bands have, I think the Guess Who is like, I think the drummer is still in it. I'm just trying to remember all of it. Quiet Riot. Okay, people, are you going to see Foreigner without any original members? Yes or no? That's what you've got to ask people. And some people, hell no. And other people are like, yeah, I want to hear this music. It's a night out, me and my wife, whatever. Take my family, educate them on great music. This is what the music used to be like. These guys can still play it. You had Jeff Pilson in the band. I think he's out now. I think somebody replaced him, but it's still a pretty skillful band. Mick Jones, think of this. Mick Jones, who was a great producer, great arranger, great songwriter, helped out Van Halen, 5150, Billy Joel, Stormfront. I think he probably knows how to pick pretty good players. I don't think he's going to leave the band in the hands of people who can't do it. It's the concept, right? It's the intellectual assent that you can't get over. Like, okay, this is a band I used to love, and now nobody is in it that I used to love. It's just another band completely. Close your eyes, listen. Does it sound like Foreigner? Yeah, kind of, yeah, sort of. Kelly is pretty good. See, I've always been kind of right on the fence with Kelly Hansen. At times I go, oh, he did this really well, whatever song. He kind of nailed all those parts that are a little bit difficult. He's not Lou Gramm. I'm not gonna, it's like Arnell. He's not Steve Perry. I mean, you go down the list of singers that have replaced people, and you could just say Lawrence Gowan, for instance, is definitely not Dennis DeYoung. I mean, and that one I have a lot of problems with, but you know, fans continue to show up to see Styx. And I wonder why, because Dennis wanted to go back out there and maybe do a reunion, right? And Lou Gramm, here's the deal about Lou. He did the reunion. He did the reunion. So all this talk now is kind of like, okay, I'm done. So I can kind of let loose and tell people how I really feel. And it's interesting. It's definitely interesting if you're trying to make videos, right? And you can do an interview or you can talk to somebody and they can tell you all this stuff. Part of me, though, thinks it's sad. And here's why I think it's sad. Because number one, that song, I Want to Know What Love is genius. Whether you wanted the band to continue in the reaction to action mode, you wanted to be a balls to the wall, straight up, hard rocking band, whether you wanted to do that or not, much like the guys in Styx like JY, we're a rock band. I'm inspired by Jimi Hendrix, right? I don't hear anything that sounds like Hendrix in Styx. Okay, never have. Even in the old days, didn't sound like Hendrix. You can, kind of hold the line there and say, yeah, I really wanted to rock out. But when you go out on your little solo tour, what song are you playing? You have to play I Want to Know What Love Is. And your vocal on that song is one of the greatest moments in music history. So either you embrace it and say, look, I didn't get it. I wanted the band to go in this other direction. Mick had this song. It's controversial in some ways, but in hindsight, the song, the power of the song, the arrangement, the full choir, all these things that were put on the song outweigh any of the criticisms that I initially had for that song. Just a tremendous song. Did it put a strain on the band? Yeah. What direction do we go in? And then the insults, I didn't appreciate Mick Jones, I think, saying at one point that he had to work with Lou and make him into a vocalist and so forth. I'm like, really? Because I think Lou came ready. I think he was user friendly the day he started recording with Foreigner. So yeah, there's a lot of back and forth, and some of it is constructive, and some of it is just out there so people will talk about it. And I guess that's what we do here on YouTube and various platforms in the social media realm. All I can say is that I think Kelly Hansen is good. I think he's good. At times, it's a little perplexing. Again, some of the stuff that I hear from people who I think want the legacy to fall apart. In other words, if there's no original guys, they just want the band to quit and go away. That's up to Mick Jones. That's up to Mick Jones. It's up to anybody who holds the trademark. It's up to Neil Schon, right? It's up to Tommy Shaw. And those guys don't appear to be quitting anytime soon. And there's no Dennis DeYoung. And there are several bands that are in that situation. And I guess if it's really about music, you have to analyze the music. Is the music good enough? Do you want to go and see this band perform live? And if you're an old timer, you might not out of principle. But if you're somebody who hears this music on the radio, and again, in the case of the Little River Band, that's another great example, and you just want to go have a night out, right? And I'm not saying that the current band is better than the original in any of these cases, because I would say 100% of the time, the newer bands are not as good as the original, about 100%, maybe 99.5, right? But it's up to the consumer, and it's up to the marketing strategy, right? Because the marketing is typically marketing by omission. You know, Pat Benatar, by the way, is running commercials for her shows. She's not running them, but promoters are running them, and they're using the song "Hit Me with Your Best Shot" in the promotions, right? Pat's not going to perform that song anymore. They're not going to run commercials for Foreigner saying, "Tonight, Foreigner live in concert with no original members. You might get to see Mick Jones for 45 minutes if you're lucky." And a lot of people are going to say, "Who's Mick Jones?" See where I'm going here? So this debate will go on. I don't know if it's productive, though, after the fact. It sounds maybe a little like sour grapes. Sounds a little like, okay, everything is sort of winding down. So I can tell the truth about everything here, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Yeah, I guess if you want to like hurt your own legacy, you do that. Or if you want to hurt the guys who are trying to earn a living in these rock bands, because I was told by one promoter who I will not mention their name, but in the case of one band that I mentioned during this video, that do you understand that you're saying all these negative things that people might not want to buy tickets? And these people have families, you got the road crew, you got the concessions people. I totally understand that. And I've tried to walk that tightrope between respecting and loving the old band and knowing that they were the creative force which sustains the current lineup of whatever band is, you know, in question here, whether that's Foreigner or LRB or, you know, the Guess Who. It was that original band. And I wish those bands would pay respect, just verbally, right, to the legacy. I think that would go a long way in kind of repairing the breach a little bit there. But most of the time, the whole marketing scheme is don't mention it. Don't talk about it. Nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to know that there are 0 original members, right? Or there's one guy who is in the band starting in this year, but technically it's 0 original members, right? People don't need to know that. What they need to know is tickets are on sale. This is how much they cost. These are the hit songs that you're going to hear. You're going to hear this catalog, and you know they'll highlight and play the songs that the original band recorded, right? Which ticks people off even more. It's like, that's not the original. I mean, that's not the current band. That's the original band they used in the promos. Okay, maybe in the promos they should use some of those re-recorded versions that most of the bands do, or live versions of the songs. People would still know it. People would go, okay, so that's what I'm going to get. Yeah, I still want to go. Tickets aren't too expensive. Now, if tickets for these bands that are essentially tribute or cover bands, or just using the name, right, the franchise, if they get to the point where it's like, you know, like Bruce Springsteen or Adele or some crazy ticket prices, at that point, folks, I wipe my hands and I say, I'm sorry, I'd love to promote your band and talk about your band, but you're charging too much for tickets. There's not one original guy in this band, and a lot of people do care about that. If it's an affordable night out and you're going to get the essence of what that band was at one time. And again, you could do this at a tribute band concert, right? Rumors of Fleetwood Mac, you know, Beginnings. There are bands out there that just do a bang up job. And, you know, you don't really worry about this issue because they're not telling you they're so-and-so. They're telling you they're a tribute to so-and-so, right? Reelin' in the Years, the Steely Dan tribute band. Really great band, fantastic band. And you know what you're getting, and you pay the appropriate amount for tickets. But if these bands that hold the trademarks, if they start charging like $300-$400 a ticket as a regular ticket price, or that's the average is like $262, according to the Springsteen people, if it gets up to be that high, I say screw it. It's not worth it. You guys just be happy that you can sell the place out or sell a lot of tickets. You're not the original band. You're doing a good job. and you're representing the band, but you don't deserve, the kind of income the original band would get if they were still all together and healthy and still able to perform and play these instruments the way they used to. So again, that's my hot take and all the Foreigner talk that's out there. I love Foreigner. I love Lou Gramm. I love Mick Jones. I like Kelly Hansen. I don't know about Love. Love is a little strong for Kelly, but I like him. He seems like a nice guy too. I mean, the video he did with the Shriners kids, if that's still out there, that thing made me cry. That thing was just fantastic, which is good publicity, Foreigner. You know what's lousy publicity? Giving money to Ukraine. That's really stupid. How about give money to music programs for inner city kids or something here in the United States? Why don't you do that? All right. All right, folks. I went way long on this. Been in a very talkative mood lately. So, yeah, that's enough talking for now.